There it is. Oh, it is. It is. Midweek hump day episode of Donno Daily here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I am Alex Donno, taking you from 12 noon to 1 p.m. today. We appreciate everybody spending your lunch hour with us here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. For those listening later on, cheers to you as well. And of course, those watching later on as well on YouTube. Going to have a loaded show today. We're going to talk plenty of Miami Dolphins. Joint practices in progress today against the Atlanta Falcons. We'll talk plenty of Miami Heat. We'll talk some Miami Hurricanes. We'll talk about the latest potential bad news for Deshaun Watson today. We have a lot of stuff to get to. And my friends, as always, this show is brought to you by the official sports book of Donno Daily, BetUS.com. Guys, you can bet with the 3-decade leader, BetUS. Join now for a 125% bonus or a 200% bonus if you deposit crypto. You can deposit with credit card or crypto if you use our promo code. Donno has your hookup at BetUS. Our code is 5RSN125. That's 5RSN125. Sign up and you get a 125% signing bonus instantly added to your funds. You can bet sports, casino, horses, pop culture, and more at betus.com. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS. And it's the perfect time to sign up, guys, because preseason in progress. The NFL regular season is going to be here in a few weeks. College football is going to be here in a couple of weeks. What a time to be alive. We are served by the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. Guys, this is my spot. Pre-game UFC pay-per-view fight. It's my spot. The freshest seafood like oysters, Maine lobster, and sushi. And I love that buffalo shrimp. The sandwiches are incredible. The burgers, the baby back ribs, or meat fall off the bone. And for the drinkers out there, they have 2-for-1 happy hour all day, every day. The happy hour never ends. Make the Quarterdeck your spot to watch every UFC pay-per-view fight with zero cover charge. You pay nothing at the door. You want to peep their menu, find the location nearest to you, visit them on the web before you go at quarterdeckrestaurants.com. The Quarterdeck, come for the food, stay for the fun. So I've got a little bit of FOMO that I'm not out at the Dolphins-Falcons joint practice because have you noticed the same thing? Sean Stanley, we'll say hello to Sean, broadcasting from the closet with the Don Shula football. I'm watching the videos, Sean, that are going out of this Dolphins joint practice, and it seems like there's a buzz there. Like, I guess there's fans and media out there. There's obviously a lot of bodies on the field because you have 2 NFL teams practicing down there at Miami Gardens, and like 90% of the personnel at the 5 Reasons Sports Network are all out there watching that practice today. So I have a little bit of a FOMO that I'm missing out on that Dolphins joint practice. So, Sean, I was looking at the inactives list that Alan Poupart from Sports Illustrated tweeted out. Yeah. Some of the Dolphins players missing today: Devontae Parker, Will Fuller, Preston Wilson, Isaiah Wilson, Isaiah Ford, here but not practicing, Vince Beagle, Javaris Davis, Brandon Jones, Jesse Davis is back. He says, you always notice there's a lot of receivers on that inactive list, right? I mean, how is Tua supposed to build chemistry with anybody when everybody seems to be out every other day?
Well, is it the chemistry thing, or is it that with the joint practices, they're just holding guys back maybe? So people can't get a feel of how this offense is going to look because you're going to keep Devontae Parker's going to be on the team. Will Fuller's going to make the team. They held out Albert Wilson, I think, last week. And with the week he had before that and the camp he's had before that, I think it's more a strategy play here than anything. I think that will come with Tua and those receivers. I think this is more strategy when you're playing, you're practicing with other teams so the teams can't get a feel for you. Because, again, this can go on film, and now you're seeing how preseason games work the same way. But I just think they know what they have receiving-wise, and they're giving guys a chance against these other guys to maybe somehow find a way onto this team.
Yeah, there's definitely, you're right. There's got to be some maintenance at play with some of these guys. Albert Wilson has not played a lot of football since the Trump administration. Devontae Parker, I think something we know about Devontae Parker is you can expect there to be some maintenance there with him.
And right? He's a gamer, right? He shows up in games. Practices, we always hear drop, but in games, you don't really see that a lot. I mean, there's some drops, but for the most part, he's making big plays.
Well, and also practices like he's always got something. He's always got a nagging issue. It's soft tissue with him, man. It's the hamstrings, it's the quads, the calves. So he's the type of guy where you've got to preserve him
It is.
on a bed of ice, right? Like put him in a cooler full of ice until game day. So there's
Just wheel
definitely
him out
gonna
on game day and stand him up.
no doubt about that. The Miami Dolphins made a trade yesterday. And you've seen a lot of these attempts to put Band-Aids on this offensive line. I like this move, though, because you're talking about a low risk, potentially high reward. But even if it's not high reward, you're really not giving up anything here. Now, the offensive line, this has been an area of the field where the Dolphins have made a bunch of these, low risk attempts to add depth. And for the most part, it's not paid off to this point. When you think about guys that the Dolphins have brought in, like Isaiah Wilson, who got cut, DJ Fluker, who got injured, the Dolphins take another run this time, a very low risk move. I can't emphasize that phrase enough, to bring in Panthers offensive lineman Greg Little. Now, if you go by the numbers of where he was drafted versus what the Dolphins gave up for him, this seems like a stroke of genius from Chris Greer in the front office, because 2 years ago, Greg Little was a second-round pick, and the Dolphins give up a seventh-round pick in 2022 to get a guy who was a second-round pick in 2019. He was drafted 37th overall by Carolina in 2019. Now, it's fair to say he has not panned out to this point anywhere close to where his draft stock would say he should have panned out. He's played in 14 career games, and he started 6 games over the past 2 seasons with the Panthers. And pretty clear to me, Carolina probably didn't think he would make it through their last round of cuts. And that's why they didn't hesitate to send him out for a 7th-round draft pick. So pretty low risk move from that standpoint. And Sean, I'm curious to how you see it. And I will be asking in about 7 minutes, we're going to be joined by Antoine Staley, who covers the Carolina Panthers. So, I want to get his take on why the Greg Little era didn't pan out in Carolina. But what was your take, and what was your reaction to this move when you saw it?
Well, it was a much needed move, right? We've seen that offensive line they've had their, I guess, good and mostly bad during training camps. We watched against the Bears defensive line, which is probably one of the better defensive lines in the NFL, but there was a lot of issues. We've seen a lot of movement lately in the last week. We've seen tackles move to guard. We've seen guards moved out to tackles. We've seen guys moving everywhere. And I think my understanding right now, and again, I'm following multiple people on this, but it looks like Jesse Davis might be one of the better offensive linemen that we've had. And as everybody says, he's been there forever. So he's
been around since the leather helmet era. So he better be pretty good by this point.
It feels like he's been there forever. But again, you've got Dieter now going to center, which again, if that works out, now you're not feeling so bad. What was he wasn't he a second or a 3rd-round pick?
I want to say 3rd, but I can't remember for sure.
So
it was a higher pick. It was a higher pick.
Sure. We went out and we got him. It's not like they haven't tried to get offensive line help. And this year I thought, again, there was an offensive lineman there, and then that offensive lineman didn't look that well in his first preseason matchup. But again, you never know with these guys, because a lot changes from college to NFL. It's about technique. In college, you can bully somebody.
Yeah.
You get away with it. In the NFL, you're not going to bully these guys. You're not. You might, again, maybe if you're, one of these generational tackles that can just stick an arm out and stop everybody, you can do that. But for the most part, it's about technique.
Orlando Pace or something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something I think a lot of these guys don't get a lot of, because again, the college game, the schemes are a lot different than what they're running in the NFL. And when they get to the NFL, it's a learning curve. And again, some guys can catch on to it a lot quicker than others. There's a lot of movement going on. And that's another part of the puzzle for the Dolphins. If they can't get the offensive line there, you saw Tua and you saw Jacoby Brissett with the first and the second team running for their lives sometimes back there on last Saturday.
Saturday.
Right? Saturday.
And Greg Little, by the way, he's already on the practice field today. At first, the reporters out there had to use the science of deduction because they saw a mystery guy wearing the number 75, and then it probably took about 3 minutes of detective work to confirm that it was Greg Little. So he's getting up to speed. Like, he's got an entire playbook to learn. He's got terminology, a blocking scheme to learn. I like that comment, by the way, that Martina Davies put in the chat. The problem is, if Greg Little starts for the Dolphins, we are in big, big trouble. He is not good. I think if he ends up starting, let's say at right tackle, it means you've got really big problems with injuries. So you certainly don't want that. And as Kyle Krabs in Dolphins Wire wrote, Little will now presumably serve as depth and possibly another contender for the starting right tackle position, assuming they don't give him any reps behind Austin Jackson on the left side. So I'm fine with him being an option B at a couple of different tackle spots and, kind of a break glass in case of emergency, because you need depth. Like, it's the NFL. Injuries are going to happen. Lack of fitness is going to happen at times at that position. You need to have a plan B there at tackle. So I'm okay with that. Another topic that's getting a lot of discussion, and I've been thinking about this a lot over the last day, our guy Adam H. Beasley wrote a great piece in Pro Football Network about the Miami Dolphins offensive play calling situation. Mm-hmm. Brian Flores, I think, is trolling us a little bit, and I kind of respect it. Like, he likes to run things in a Belichickian way. Like, he is dead set on not wanting anybody to know who's calling the offensive plays. You've got two offensive coordinators. We can assume and guess that it's probably George Godsey, not Eric Studesville, calling the plays, because Godsey has play calling experience at this level and Studesville does not. But I also can't guarantee you that they don't both get some reps doing it, or they may switch off during games or between games. I have no idea. We do know that in the preseason game on Saturday, it was actually the quarterback's coach, Charlie Fry, was relaying the plays to Tua. So it's like you have an added layer of secrecy in there in who's calling the plays. Mm-hmm. The media makes a big deal about this, wanting to know who it is calling the plays. Some of the fans make a big deal about it. And I went to bed last night. This is what a loser I am. These are the thoughts that swarm through my head.
This is what
I go to sleep at night.
Daily.
Yeah, like I go to sleep last night, Sean, thinking, like, why do we even have to know or want to know, right? Like, I think the reason why fans, and I am a fan first and foremost, right? I think I'm a Dolphins fan lifelong. I think the reason why fans want to know who is calling the plays is primarily because we want to know who to blame if things aren't going right. Isn't that the real reason? Like, if the Dolphins put out a terrible offensive performance last year, you knew we have to take the pitchforks to Davey and protest old man Chan calling the plays. You knew exactly who to blame for the play calling, right? This year, or Tua. But this year, if things aren't going well, do we blame Godsey? Do we blame Studesville? Do we blame Charlie Fry? Do we blame Tua? We're not exactly sure. I honestly think what does it really matter to me as a fan if it's Godsey or Studesville calling the plays? Like, how does that change whether or not the Dolphins are going to win a game on Sunday? It changes absolutely nothing whether me, you, or the lamppost knows who's calling the plays. We want to know who to blame if things aren't going right. Now, the media wants to know who's calling the plays because they don't want to feel clueless, okay? Mm-hmm. There's nothing that scares the beat writers more than their readers thinking they're stupid or that they don't know what's going on. And I'm not saying that they're either of those things, right? But when people are asking questions to the Omars and the Barry Jacksons and the David Furones, who's now on that beat, he left the Canes beat for the Dolphins beat. The worst feeling for these guys is not being able to give the fans an answer, because then the fans feel like they're stupid. But it's not their fault. If Brian Flores is keeping us under the shroud of secrecy, there's no way for them to know, okay? So here's a quote from Flo. He was asked yesterday after practice what he gains from maintaining the mystery, and he said, "We just try to keep things internal," he says. I guess my question would be, what do you gain by that? And that was what got me thinking. That's why it was swirling through my mind when I went to bed last night. Why do I care who's calling the plays? Flores says we know who's responsible for the play. I know who's responsible, he says. That's kind of where we go. He was asked, does the opponent gain anything from knowing? And he says, they may. So you have to wonder, like, you've got a big game coming up Sunday against the Patriots. You know, they can't make their job easier if they know who's calling the plays. I guess it might.
Well, you'll know tendencies, right? You'll know if Gotzi's a run first kind of guy. You'll know on first down, usually you'll run the ball to set up the pass. And I think more of what the Dolphins will probably do this year is kind of do the pass to set up the run.
Yeah, I guess so. Man, we're going to be joined here any minute by Antoine Staley, who's going to talk some shop with us. Oh, I want to welcome in everybody in the chat. We got Ray Grouillon, who's in there. I love how Ray always greets us with the howdy. Howdy, Ray. I hope you're doing well, sir. We've got David in there. He says, if we have no idea who gets the blame, the people put them, it gets the blame. Blame the people that put them there, he said. So I guess we just go up the ladder, right? If we don't know if we should blame Godsey or Studesville, we blame Flo. And if we're tired of blaming Flo, we blame Greer. If we're tired of blaming Greer, we blame Stephen Ross. I guess that's how that goes. We keep going up the chain of command on who to blame from that. That's really funny, man. Oh, man. So, guys, make sure, by the way, when you're in here, because I always forget to say this, smash the like button. If you're watching this live or if you're watching this on replay, smash the like button here on Donno Daily and make sure you subscribe to our channel here for this daily content here on Donno Daily, 12 to 1 p.m. every day. Hey, flash for me this tweet from Kai Chen Chisholm, who's going to be joining us, I think, on Friday. Kai is going to make an appearance. Late night thoughts. So I guess I'm not the only one who goes to bed thinking about Miami Dolphins related stuff. Kai says late night.
Same conversation as Kai Chen Chisholm.
And I didn't even know that he was having it with himself at the same time I was. He says, during the game against the Bears, Tua made a bad decision and clearly hesitated on his throw to Shaheen. However, he also took more chances and will only get more comfortable with an offensive system that trusts him. Both can be true, y'all. Yeah, he's been more aggressive throughout training camp and for, the quarter plus of reps that he took in the preseason game. Tua looks a lot more comfortable and a lot more aggressive throwing it downfield. Hesitancy was a big problem for him last year. Okay, how many times did we see that where Tua just wasn't comfortable delivering the football, didn't seem comfortable reading and feeling the pass rush, would hold on to it too long, would make the wrong decision at times, or just not make any decision whatsoever. I see the same thing that you're seeing, man, that, Tua is making decisions, being more aggressive downfield. That was one of the things that he and Ryan Fitzpatrick were both talking about last year and why Tua wasn't excelling in year one more than he did. It's that he was a little bit too hesitant to make some of those throws, man. And I think if we're seeing some of that hesitancy go away, it's only going to make him look a lot better coming up in the future. Oh, man. So let's see what else, what other stuff. I sent Sean a couple of good tweets we can bring up. Show me this Belichick thing that has everybody talking that Boston Connor from the Pat McAfee show put out there. You see Bill Belichick, the hoodie. He's using the squat rack. If you guys can see, just whatever you're using, a smartphone, a computer, enlarge. I don't need you to do it, Sean, because I don't want us to break the computer in here. But you can see the intensity in Bill Belichick's eyes, and the caption there from Boston Kana says Super Bowl confirmed. I think the funny thing about this is he's got a 25 on each side. Sean, what does the bar weigh? 45 pounds. So he's squatting 95 pounds. Like, does he have arthritis? Like, I mean, I think my 3-year-old can squat that. All right, we're gonna go. I don't know what happened. We got no Antoine Staley hasn't popped in yet. I want to double check with this dude to make sure that that he's ready to hop in. I thought he was there. Hold on one second. Ready to join. Yeah, but I think that's great that he's squatting a grand total of 95 pounds. Super Bowl confirmed. Oh my God. I have always said to beat Belichick and Savannah, you have to go in with 2 game plans to throw him off and not be able to adjust to you at halftime. So I'm all in on this move.
And he meant Saban, not Savannah. He corrected on another.
Oh, I see that. I'm like Savannah. I was going to get to that. I thought, it's tough to go and win a game in Savannah, Georgia. Oh, man, this is great. That's a Smith machine, so it's even less. Oh my! I think my mother can squat that amount. Oh man. Oh, never mind. It's not a Smith machine, he says. So I guess we're wrong about that. Oh my God, this is too freaking funny. Oh, where do you guys honestly see the Patriots finishing this year? Because I think we can all agree with a basic consensus that the Buffalo Bills are going to win that division. Let me bring in now Antoine Staley, our special guest here for the first portion of the show. Very good friend of mine covering the NFL. He's back on the Carolina Panthers beat. So I have some questions for you, sir. But before we get into that good stuff, Antoine Staley, it's great to see your face again, man. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing really well. And so, Antoine, the Dolphins made a little trade with Carolina yesterday, bringing in Greg Little. And I see this as a very low risk, trade a 7th-round pick, depth type of move, because we've seen some issues with the Dolphins offensive line. And so I'm sure you can expand on Greg Little. First things first, do you think with Carolina dealing him away, is this a sign that he probably or possibly would not have even made it through the final round of cuts?
Yeah, he probably wouldn't have, from what I understand, just talking with a few people. He kind of fallen out of favor with Matt Rule and Scott Fritter, who's now the general manager of the Panthers, too. You have to remember Ron Rivera and Marty Herney ended up drafting Greg Little in the 2nd round in 2019. So it's a different regime that took him. Obviously, Rivera and Herney had moved on to Washington, and now Matt Rule came in and Scott Fritter, and he just kind of kept falling down and down the depth chart there too a little bit. So they didn't really find a place for Greg Little. They brought in other people who they thought were better, so they were gonna. He was expendable at that point. So they might as well just say, you know what, cut our ties, get something for him, as opposed to just releasing them. And obviously, the Dolphins need offensive line help, especially since you saw the game on Saturday. So why not kick the tires on this guy and see what he can do?
So, and you mentioned 2 years ago he was a 2nd-round pick. So that's a pretty quick fall from grace, right? And he's played 14 career games in those past 2 seasons, started 6 of them over the last 2 years. So, like, in your mind, why did things not click for him? Like, well, why do you think Greg Little has not been able to this point live up to the status of a former 2nd-round pick?
Well, yeah, I was there in 19 when he came in, and then he had a lot of concussion issues. He had suffered both more concussions, and then when he got back on the field, the game was just too fast for him, really. So it just really hadn't clicked there. I thought coming into the draft, I thought he was one of the better left tackles coming in to the 2019 draft. He actually, funny enough, replaced Laramie Tunsil at Ole Miss. So
yeah, that's right.
Circle. But yeah, I mean, injuries have played a big role too as well. Just inconsistent play. He's better run blocking than pass blocking. And the Panthers tried him out at both left tackle, and then they tried him at right tackle just because of the speed of the game. And then either way, it just hadn't really necessarily worked at this point. But sometimes it just takes players a little bit while to develop. We've seen it with other offensive linemen in the league, and this guy's still really young in his mid-20s. So who's to say he can't turn it around there in Miami? And for the Dolphins, too, as well, there's 2 ways to look at it. One, I mean, he comes in there, you got control of him for 2 years. So if things were to happen and things were to click too, you can have them pretty cheap for $2 million a year. And if things don't work out, you can release them, and not really much is given up for them. So yeah, that definitely is a good move for Miami, just to see what he can have and bring to the table.
Well, and since he keeps following in Laramie Tunsil's footsteps here, he replaced him at Ole Miss. He winds up in Miami. Maybe the Dolphins can trade him to the Houston Texans in a year or two for like 4 first-round picks. So maybe we'll continue that trend of him following in Laramie's footsteps.
Yeah, never know.
Oh, man. So, Antoine, something I wanted to get into you was, and I noticed, and you have even this tweet of an article you wrote pinned in your Twitter profile, and everyone, you should be following Antoine on Twitter about, exercising some patience with Tua, a story that you wrote a few months ago. Unfortunately, I don't think enough people have taken your words to heart, because I don't see or hear a lot of patience with Tua. Like the way he's covered, he throws 1 interception in a preseason game and the sky is falling. And it's not just Dolphins fans. I think a lot of Dolphins fans defend him, but a lot of them don't. And then a lot of the national media people, they seem to have this agenda-driven narrative against Tua. So I don't know how much of the Bears game you got a chance to watch. Tua played a little over a quarter. How do you think he performed? And what's the buzz you're getting from Tua out of training camp? Because to me, I'm not saying that he's ready to make a jump necessarily to being a Pro Bowler, but I think he's looking considerably better so far this year.
Yeah, I think for one, patience, like with NFL fans. I mean, that's kind of rare for any fan base, but I definitely think I saw the game. I watched it. I didn't watch it live because I was with family on Saturday, but I did watch it the next day, and I thought he looked comfortable. That was the main thing that stood out to me. It wasn't necessarily, I wasn't necessarily judging decision making. I mean, he's in there in preseason, so a lot of things are vanilla. But I think for me, it was just like his comfort level looked a lot different than what it did last year. You could tell that he felt a little bit a different vibe in this offense compared to the one last year in Chan Gailey, which was not fit for him and what he does in his skill set. So I definitely thought I saw a certain comfort level with him, and you can see with some of the throws that he ended up making on Saturday too as well. I think even though the interception, was not a good decision by him, it was two people in the same area. But I think he felt comfortable where he thought, okay, let me try this and see if it works. And, interceptions are going to happen. You're going to make some bad decisions, especially at the second-year quarterback. But, yeah, I was definitely encouraged for his performance and what he was able to do. I think the main thing with him moving forward is going to determine everything. It's not necessarily Tua, because I think accuracy, I think he's one of the more accurate quarterbacks in the NFL, but I think the offensive line, that's really the main thing for me. If the offensive line is solid enough that's going to give him time to in the pocket, then I definitely think he'll benefit from there. And I think he'll make a big turn this year. If the offensive line struggles or is inconsistent or the running game is not there for Tua, then it could be a little bit of a struggle offensively for the Dolphins. So I definitely think having the running game and also the offensive line are going to be huge for him this upcoming year.
Yeah, Antoine, right before you came on, we were talking about the AFC East. And, of course, we see these photos of Bill Belichick just crushing that squat rack. I mean, this guy is putting up nearly triple digits of weight. He's squatting 95 pounds. He is out for blood. He is out for vengeance. Now, it's almost safe to just pencil in Buffalo as being the AFC East division winners. But then the $1 million question is, Antoine, do you see the Dolphins securing second place and fighting for a wild card, or could New England have a big rise from their losing season last year?
I think it's going to be close. I think that last game of the season is going to be huge. I definitely think those two play each other week 18 now, which is weird to say, but yeah, they definitely. I definitely think that last game of the season could determine who's going to get into the wild card. I think the Patriots have improved their roster immensely from last year, and also they get a lot of those players back from COVID. I believe they had like 13 players opt out last year due to coronavirus. So yeah, I think getting that depth back and also improving the roster. You get Jonnu Smith, you get Hunter Henry if he can stay healthy too as well. You made some improvements on the offensive line, and we'll see what Cam Newton can do. If he's not the guy, then they got Matt Jones who they really like. So I think it's going to be really. I think one of the two will make the playoffs too as well. I think the Dolphins are anywhere from a 9 or 11 win team, just based on what may happen. I think the Patriots are kind of in that same boat from 9 to 11 or 12 wins too as well. But yeah, I definitely like Buffalo to win the division. But one of these two teams, I think, are going to get one of the 3 wild card spots.
I got to ask you about the Jets as well, because I found something very entertaining. Now, admittedly, over the last, week, I haven't been keeping up that closely with Jets training camp. But around like the first week of camp, Zach Wilson was really struggling. And listen, I think it's understandable for any rookie, right? And we kind of knew that there could be some potential for that with Wilson coming out of BYU. It's a big jump in competition. Who did he really face last year? But he was really struggling early in camp. I don't think it helps him with the New York media that his mother is batshit crazy. So he gets asked a lot of questions about her Instagram. So it's like a whole mess. But Antoine, there was this clip that went viral on the sports blogs like a week and a half ago of a caller on WFAN. And it's funny because he was actually really articulate, this caller, and seemed really smart. But the summary of his call was, This New York Jets fan was convinced already that Zach Wilson is a bust. Like, oh, we don't have it. We made a huge mistake because Justin Fields, was already having a good camp by that point, and we drafted the wrong guy. I see you shaking your head. So what's your take on Zach Wilson? And give me your take, your bonus take on Justin Fields as well, because he's been having a good camp so far. And I know I will preface this by saying against the Dolphins' second and third teamers, he was moving the ball, not against the first teamers, but I like some of what I saw from him in that preseason game. So what are you expecting rookie seasons from Wilson and Fields?
Well, first of all, I'll preface to say that I thought Justin Fields was the second best quarterback in the draft. So, I mean, I thought the Jets should have taken him anyway. Having said all that, you have to take into consideration Zach Wilson. He just came into camp late because of his contract situation. So he was already at a disadvantage compared to some of the other rookie quarterbacks too as well. So to already call him a bust after like 2 weeks, I think is kind of ridiculous. Like that's where we are in this world. Like we expect these players to come out right away and start producing, or else they're trash, or what fans call them. And it's not how it should be. Like it's player development. What happened to at least waiting 2 or 3 years for these players to develop and decide, okay, maybe this guys has it, maybe it doesn't. I need like a full 32. Well, in this case now with 34 games, I need a full 2 seasons to determine if a guy has it or not. Like sometimes you can tell, before then, sometimes you can't. But yeah, I just think it's we're really in a bad place if we're judging these quarterbacks off of bad practices after 2 weeks after they just came into camp. But I think Zach Wilson has a ton of upside, probably more than anybody, in this draft, quite frankly, even more than Trevor Lawrence to an extent. But it's just going to be about do the Jets put enough around him in order to succeed? I think they're trying to do that right now, but it's just going to take some time, especially when you're coming out of a school like BYU where you didn't play against the best competition. So it's a little bit of a transition going from Brigham Young to the NFL, where the competition is definitely two steps ahead of what somebody saw in the SEC or Trevor Lawrence saw in the ACC.
Now, Antoine, I saw you on Twitter last night giving smoked meat advice to Omar Kelly. You live in the land of barbecue. You're in Carolina, and I'm kind of jealous, man, because it must be. And there's a lot of great stuff about Miami. Don't get me wrong, but I'm jealous of not being able just to like walk down the street and get world-class barbecue. What would be your recommendation for somebody who's going to like take a weekend up in North Carolina? Like what is the go-to barbecue meat, right? Should they be going for pulled pork? Should they be going for brisket, ribs? What would be the go-to for Carolina barbecue?
It's weird because North Carolina has really 2 different barbecues. You have your Eastern barbecue, and then you have your Western barbecue, which is more like a red slaw, which is hot sauce and ketchup mixed together in the slaw, but also it's vinegar based. That's the one most people hear about. And then your Eastern barbecue, they kind of gut the pig out a little bit, and yeah, it's I like them both too as well. What I would suggest somebody do is this place called 100 Bones in Asheville in the mountains. Go there. Their ribs are incredible. They also have a really good brisket too as well, and pulled pork. Get that and just report back to me and enjoy your time in the mountains. Like that's like the best area you can go in North Carolina too, when it's not that hot, especially this time of the year when it's like 70 degrees, but also you're enjoying that breeze. And also
it's 70 degrees this time of year there
in the mountains. Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm so jet lagged. I walk outside and I melt, dude. And like
75 degrees every day. Yeah.
Oh my God. Manny Chang says, I would not survive a mountain hike.
Oh, yeah, you would. Yeah, you would. You get used to it.
He's too much of a city boy, and he's lived at sea level his entire life, Antoine. I agree with Manny. I don't think he would survive. Like, he's not used to uphill. Are there any like wild animals in the wilderness there? Because I feel like Manny would get just completely devoured by by a mountain lion or something. Like there would be nothing left of him.
Yeah, they're bears, but we'll make sure we don't have any picnic baskets when we're climbing the mountains.
He would probably have like beef jerky in his pocket. Like he's got no wilderness sense whatsoever. Like he's going to be attracting bears.
No, you definitely don't want to have anything with those bears. Like, yeah, if Manny come with me to the mountains and have beef jerky or food, then you're on your own. Like, if I see a bear, then I'm running. Like, I'll tell your family that something happened to you in the wilderness. So
Yeah, he's done. Protein bars, baby. He's walking around with power bars. Antoine Staley, I cannot thank you enough, sir. What's the Twitter handle so people can find you?
Antoine Staley, just simple as that. My name, ANTWANSTALEY at Twitter, and you can find my work there. And also, we got coming up. Donno, you'll like this. We predicting the Miami Hurricanes 2021 schedule, game by game.
I can't wait.
So
what's the record going to be? 12-0?
People probably not going to be too happy with me though. I had
12-0, right? After the Alabama upset win, it's smooth sailing after that.
I had 9-3 actually. So, but yeah, I can imagine people not happy with the losses. But I think 9 wins is probably
not terrible.
10 if they win the bowl game. I think that's a pretty decent season for them.
I would sign up for it, man. I mean, listen, I remember national championships, but I also remember how long ago those were. So yeah, I would sign up for 10 wins if you can guarantee that. So everyone, make sure you follow Antoine and check out his work. Thank you so much, man. Have a great rest of your week.
All right, take care.
Love it. Good stuff there. In about 5 minutes, we're going to be joined by Johnathan Ramlakhan. We'll talk some Miami Heat basketball, maybe a little MMA, because Johnathan was promoted. He is now the 5 Reasons Sports lead MMA reporter. He beat out Frank Zaffrey for that job. No, not really. I mean, Johnathan deserved it. I think it was unanimous because he is the freaking man. I wanted to get into this, though. You know, we've had some discussions on the show about Deshaun Watson, who is like, and he's in this weird limbo right now, because he's reported to training camp with the Texans, literally because he doesn't want to get fined $50,000 per day. But he's not actually practicing. And yet they're also not like pretending he's injured, which is usually the move there. David Culley spoke and said, no, he's not hurt. We're just kind of, he's here and we're going to figure out a way to work him in. We hope to get him on the field soon. So like, he's not hurt. He's not practicing, but he's there just so he doesn't get fined. Let me go on record for the 19th dozenth time and say, I do not want Deshaun Watson anywhere near my Miami Dolphins. I do not want him anywhere near my NFL team. A couple of weeks ago, we read a very detailed, horrific account of some of the allegations against him by one of his accusers. And it came out last night. Not his attorney, the attorney for the accusers, Tony Busby, appeared on the show of Amy Dash from CBS Sports. She's also with Fox Sports Radio, CBS Sports Radio, Fox Sports Radio. And according to Busby, the FBI are looking into this. So anyone who's told me over the last couple of weeks, well, listen, it's just civil suits and they're going to make these go away. They're going to settle. There's no criminal charges. Don't worry about it. One of our viewers, and I can't remember who it was, but made a great comment. And I've talked with attorneys about this as well. Sometimes putting together the criminal charges and the investigations take a lot of time, and there's a lot of fact finding involved, and there's bureaucracies involved. Well, speaking of bureaucracies, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, is now looking into this. This is what Tony Busby said. The FBI agent said to him, he's like, look, what I've heard is that most of the reach outs being like the solicitations that he made to masseuses, most of the reach outs occurred via the internet, which creates jurisdiction for us, he said. The FBI agent told Busby. Busby continued, but then I understand there were these 2 women that were from out of state, which obviously creates more jurisdiction for us as well, because then you're talking about federal charges potentially, because he was in Texas and he was reaching out to masseuses from other states to come either fly in or he'll fly out to them for a massage. So that does put it in the FBI jurisdiction. The report continues. At least one woman has filed a lawsuit against Watson, claiming he flew her in from Georgia to give him a massage before he allegedly tried to make it into something more. Watson denies that allegation. They write, Busby, who called the agents, quote unquote, very professional, the agents who visited him, said they put him in touch with their boss, the assistant United States attorney, and claims he had a couple of conversations with her. That seems like a pretty important person to be talking to. The assistant United States attorney, quote, I told her, I was like, this is what we know. He said, oh man, I lost my feed here. Hold on. He said, this is what we know. This is what we have, said Busby. And she was like, well, I just want you to know we are not going to waste your time. Busby also said the FBI has spoken with several of his clients whom he is representing in civil lawsuits against Watson. He claims the agency assured him it is taking the allegations very seriously. At least one other person connected to the Watson story has independently confirmed to the League of Justice, that's the show that Amy Dash does, that they were contacted by and spoke to the FBI but would not discuss the nature of the inquiry. So the FBI at the very least is sniffing around this, okay? Now, Rusty Hardin, the attorney for Deshaun Watson, who's had a very difficult job because his client has been made to look very bad over the last several months, he has come out and said that, oh, you can't prove that there's an FBI investigation and you're just smearing my client again. This just looks so bad. And again, at the worst case scenario for Deshaun Watson, the guy is a disgusting sexual predator. That's the worst case scenario. The best case scenario is he's just a disgusting pig. That's the best case scenario, disgusting pig. Worst case scenario is disgusting criminal sexual offender. Like this guy who he's rich, good looking, young, athletic, professional athlete. He's famous. If he was just trying to get laid, it's not that difficult. The fact that this guy is going through channels to presumably book professional massages and then trying to parlay that into sexual encounters, it's illegal if that's true, of course. And it's pretty freaking disgusting. And it's like, it's mental illness, man. I do not want this guy anywhere within a 600-mile radius of my NFL team. He's way too toxic. And if nothing else, the idea that there are investigations in progress and it's being looked into would tell you, you can't just expect this stuff to disappear. Right? For anyone thinking, oh, don't worry about it, trade for him, all this stuff is going to go away, he's going to play. I think he's going to end up on the commissioner's exempt list this season. I think they're going to essentially pay him not to play. They're going to suspend him this year. And then who knows from next year on what comes out of it. All right, let's shift gears into happier thoughts. Let's bring on our good buddy, Johnathan Ramlakhan. Johnathan Ramlakhan, who is now the lead MMA reporter for the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Congratulations to you, sir. He's also one of my trusted sources on the Miami Heat and NBA basketball. Johnathan, you're looking good, sir. I'm looking forward to seeing you, by the way, because we're going to be at the PFL playoff event at the Hard Rock tomorrow. How you doing? Oh, I think you're muted, bro.
Much.
It's a professional broadcaster here.
Absolutely. But I'm doing great, man. I want to thank you again for giving me the opportunity. But yeah, I'll see you tomorrow, man.
I'll see you tomorrow out there. So I want to start with some Miami Heat stuff. Summer League has been a lot of fun. You know, one player, there have been a lot of players who have really impressed me in Summer League. One player that for the most part has driven me crazy up until yesterday, where he actually played really well and went 4 for 5 from 3. KZ Okpala. Do you see him, Johnathan, as ever being a Miami Heat rotation player? Because I've more or less given up on this dude.
Yeah, as far as being a rotation player, it's really hard to say yes. But I also don't want to say ever, because forever is a long time, and he can have that time where maybe he flips that switch and it all starts to make sense to him. So it's really, you don't want to say ever. But as far as right now, he just doesn't seem like a rotational piece. He's lost on offense, like you said, until yesterday, where he was actually hitting some shots. He wasn't doing absolutely anything on offense. He was making bad decisions. He wasn't passing the ball when he's supposed to. He's not moving when he's supposed to. There's just so much that he still has yet to learn as an offensive player. And on the defensive end, he has all the tools, but he doesn't use the tools in the right way. He doesn't know how to control his body. He commits a lot of extra fouls. So he's in a really awkward position, because there are guys that are younger than him, right? Like Marcus Garrett, Max Strus, Omer Yurtseven coming in and on, much less experience with this Miami Heat team. They're playing a lot better than KZ Okpala and putting themselves in positions to be rotational players, or at least have a shot to be a rotational player, if not this year, some years down the line. But as far as KZ goes, I don't think we see him as a rotational player unless necessary, right? We don't know how the whole protocol thing's going to go this season, and if we're going to have players out, if we're going to have extra players because of that. I don't know how the whole logistical side was going to go with that, but I don't see him being a rotational piece, at least an effective one this year.
Now, what about the players that you mentioned who had awesome summer leagues, right? Max Strus, I love watching that dude. I have an unhealthy fascination with Omer Yurtseven. I'm looking into real estate in Turkey. Like I want to be closer to his family. That's how much I love this guy. Marcus Garrett, another one you mentioned. What roles could you see the three of them filling with the Heat this year?
Well, I'll start with Max Strus. First of all, beautiful man, right? That dude can be a Calvin Klein
Yes.
model. He can be a Calvin Klein model. Like if once, I mean, let's really take a look at this. Duncan parlayed an undrafted free agency or undrafted to a $90 million contract, and maybe I'm saying he deserves a Dunkin' Donuts contract. But if Max Strus is able to parlay this contract into something bigger, get that man a Calvin Klein sponsorship. That man needs to be on a runway. He's beautiful. But as far as his game goes, let's talk about off the court first, because he's been mic'd up a lot during this summer league. And the things that he's been saying has been music to my ears. He's leading the bench crew. He's talking about where to be. He's just so effective as a leader. And for a guy that's just signed his first standard contract with the NBA, he already seems like a seasoned veteran in the huddle. So I love to see that. First of all, you can never have too much dog and too much heart in your huddle. So off the court stuff, absolutely phenomenal. But on the court, man, dude has been an absolute sniper. I feel like he's going to have that Duncan Robinson-esque jump. Now, I'm not going to say he's going to be the same style of player Duncan Robinson. Don't want you to have that confusion there. But I feel like he's going to have that kind of jump because the dude has a really strong game. He's able to take it in on you. He's really like solid. He's compact. He has a little more strength to him. That three-point shot is butter, and he's not afraid to shoot it. And if you have Spo telling you to don't be afraid to shoot, that's what Duncan Robinson was created. Spo created Duncan Robinson. So we'll see what he's be able to do with Max Strus. And I mean, what is he defensively? He's just been looking like stout as well. So I love what I saw from him. Omer is the guy that I'm probably the most excited about because if he works out, we could be potentially seeing somebody that could be a partner for Bam for a long time coming down the road.
Yes.
This is a guy that's still really young, still really raw, but even against drafted big men, he was holding his own, not only offensively, but defensively, which I was worried about the most. He's able to hold his own in the lane. And unlike KZ, he knows how to use his length. He knows how to put his body in positions to make the offense uncomfortable with him on defense. And Max Strus talked about it when talking about Omer, is that he just knows how to be in the right places, and he does that great job. He's a 3-level scorer. He can shoot the three great. He can shoot the midi. He has that nice soft touch inside that's only going to get better. And on top of that, he's shooting almost 80% from the free throw line, which is amazing for a big man. I mean, I think that's better than Bam was in his first year. So he's coming in really good. My only kind of worry, right? We can't get attached to these guys too much because if a Bradley Beal or a Damian Lillard comes up, we're going to have to flip these guys. But as far as Omer goes, he looks great. I can't really say too much negative about him so far. I mean, obviously there's some growing spots that he's going to have to take to learn. He's still a young player. If he continues to develop in preseason, if he gets that two-way contract, he has a two-way contract already, right?
Yes.
Okay, so he already stands two-way. So he's going to have a bunch of G League reps, which is going to be great. I mean, we saw what the G League did to Hassan, Tyler Johnson, right? We saw what it did to Jay Rich. We saw what it did to so many Miami Heat players. This G League has just been a factory for the Heat team. And I think he's going to be another solid player. Now, Marcus Garrett, I think, is the best defensive player on our whole summer league squad. Like, the man is nasty. And I'm not just talking about help defense. He's stripping these guys right off the top. Like, you have the ball and you're handling it to me. I know where that ball is going to go. I'm going to strip it and I'm going to take away from you. That's a really, really good defensive skill to have because you're not just locking up people without the ball in their hand and maybe trying to take them out of the game without the ball. If somebody has the ball in their hand and you can't score, and you can't stop them from scoring, maybe you can try Marcus Garrett now, right? He's still young. He's still undrafted, but one of the best defensive players coming out of college scene. And he's been showing those skills. He's like another one of those guys, absolute dog. He fits in perfectly with Heat culture. And on top of that, defense will always get you on the court. If you can't do things offensively, if you can at least maybe just be there and, not be out of place like KZ, you can put yourself in decent position to score a shot or two, right? He's a monster defensively. I can see him making himself into the role and the rotation of this team.
Now, outside of the playoffs, the biggest showcase day, arguably for NBA basketball, is the Christmas Day slate, and the Heat get snubbed this year. And I understand that the players and coaches would probably rather not play on Christmas and be away from their families, but I am an NBA fan and I am selfish, and I think I feel a little snubbed not having my team play on Christmas Day, and they bring out these excuses like, oh, well, this is what happens when you get knocked out of the first round. The Lakers were a first-round exit. They're on Christmas. the Knicks, I would argue, have been the most worthless franchise of the last 2+ decades. They were also a first-round exit. They're playing on Christmas. So are you disappointed, Johnathan, as a Heat fan, that we don't get to watch the Heat on Christmas Day?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, they always like to showcase who has the best free agency signing. I mean, was Kyle Lowry not the best free agent signing of the
Good point.
offseason?
Good point.
Right? So that's one point there. I mean, you have the storyline built now with this revamped team. You can throw them against the Bucks. It's a matchup that, the champs, the Eastern Conference champs of last year versus the Eastern Conference champs of the year before that. The two teams have been going at it. That's a storyline built. Who wants to see the Knicks on Christmas? Christmas for me, and I'm right there with you, man. Christmas for me is, growing up, it was opening gifts and then watching basketball all day. And now it's just watching basketball all day. Like, that is my Christmas. I enjoy watching these games, and to not have my team be on Christmas Day feels like I'm not getting a Christmas. So it really sucks. I really don't want to see the Knicks. I don't care to see the Celtics. I mean, sure, they're a good team. They're a big market team. They're going to get blown out by the Bucks. The Bucks are too big for them. That's going to be a blowout, and that's going to end up being a boring game. Warriors and Suns, that's a fun game, right? Nets and Lakers, that's a fun game. Mavs and Jazz, I don't want to watch Rudy Gobert play. I do not care about this guy. You put Mavs and give me the reigning MVP Nikola Jokic instead of that too. But a lot of not so nice things as far as the Christmas games go. I love having my Miami Heat Christmas game, so I'll miss it. I am disappointed with you, so I'm right there with you as well.
Yeah, and I didn't even mind, like, they were in, like, the early throwaway spot last year, and it was still nice. They were, like, noon, I think, against the Pelicans, but I don't know. It was still – and it's 2 hours. I know that, like, Heat players want to spend time with their family on Christmas. I want to spend 2 hours away from my family on Christmas. So I was looking for the reason to be off on my own for a couple hours, but it is what it is. Johnathan, before we let you run, my friend, I'm going to see you out at the PFL playoffs tomorrow, which are going to be at the Hard Rock Live in Hollywood, Florida. Kayla Harrison, Jenna Fabian. It's going to be an interesting clash of styles. I don't think at the end of the day, Kayla's going to have too much trouble, but Jenna does come from a great camp over in New Zealand, and she is, a training partner of Izzy Adesanya. So there's obviously some skill there, and she's gigantic. What do you think is going to happen in that fight tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Jenna Fabian is coming off of, Adesanya is my personal favorite fighter. So I was fangirling a little bit yesterday when I got to ask Jenna a question. And I asked her, how is she going to approach this fight? Knowing that Kayla Harrison is going to have to be on the offensive, or have to basically just take her to the ground once and that's it. How is she going to be able to be defensive and also try to knock her out at the same time? But that's something that Izzy does really well, right? Izzy has great movement. He's really good off of his back leg. He knows how to move laterally really well. He'll fake laterally to the right, and then he'll switch his hips to the left. She says that she's been training with Izzy for a good amount of time. So I think we'll see a good amount of takedown defense from her, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think Kayla Harrison, her judo background is insane. If she wants to keep it standing and practice her striking, maybe she'll work on that a little bit, but I don't think she would want to from somebody coming out of City Kickboxing. One hit kick and that's it from those guys over there. So I think for her, it's going to be a tough matchup for Jenna. I think Kayla gets it done. The matchup is just built for Kayla to get it done. She's what minus 150 or sorry, minus 1,500, minus 1,000.
Yeah, something like that, which means I'm either not going to bet the fight or I'm going to have her in like a 5-fight parlay. Is the only way I can get that in.
So it's tough to bet against Kayla because she has such a definitive advantage. Do I think it lasts a little bit longer than the feet than maybe most people? Yeah, sure. Maybe we'll see an extra couple of minutes on the feet. Maybe the takedown defense of Jenna holds up, but I think Kayla will get it done at the end of the day.
Awesome stuff here from Johnathan. You want to make sure you follow him. For those watching, you can see the Twitter handle there. For those listening, I'll spell it out for you. It's at 3-Piece Combo. Johnathan Ramlakhan, thank you so much, my friend, for the Heat insight, the PFL insight. I'll see you out there tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Thank you again. You have a good one.
Awesome stuff there from Johnathan. Yeah, I want to close out with a couple of Kane's thoughts before we wrap it up on this episode of Donno Daily. By the way, I have this. I always play with this during the show because I feel like I'm way too shiny right now. I've got the UV circle light that I try to light myself with. What do you think? This is a little better, right? Yeah, I'm going to contrast that a little bit better. I play with this thing all show. It's like a compulsion. Can change the colors, can change the tones on there. It's actually kind of fun. So PFF has had a lot of things to say about Miami. I guess it's because the college football season is only a couple weeks away here. Flash for me, Sean, the tweet from PFF College about the most valuable players returning to college football this year. And De'Aaron King, he gets some love on this list. This is Pro Football Focus's chart of most valuable players returning. Number 1, Sam Howell. Not going to argue it. It gets interesting from there, though. Number 2, Dylan Gabriel from UCF. Knights fans, shout out. If Jeremy Taché, if you're watching. Matt Golden Corral from Ole Miss, number 3. Spencer Rattler, number 4. I think he's a little underrated. I would have had Rattler number 1 or number 2, but our guy, De'Aaron King, gets some love at number 5. One of the top 5 most valuable players returning to college football this season. De'Aaron King is getting some love on that list, and I don't think they're wrong. I mean, any spot like 3, 4 to 5, I wouldn't argue with it. I think De'Aaron King deserves that much respect because he made such a dynamic difference on Miami's offense last year. Like, there were so many plays that he was able to extend. So many plays where he was able to make magic happen with a difficult throw or a difficult run, by the way. I mean, how many big first downs and touchdowns did De'Aaron King pick up with his feet? Where it was very obvious from watching that like that touchdown, that first down does not happen without De'Aaron King on the field. He was dynamic in Miami's offense last year. You know, the only question mark that I would have this year on King is even if he's healthy enough to start week 1, exactly how healthy is he? Because recovering from a torn ACL, no matter how much you crush the rehab as he's been doing, and he's like a couple months ahead of schedule from what I understand on the way that his recovery went, is everything going to be the same? Is he going to have the pre-injury confidence? Is he going to have the pre-injury spring in his step? Is he going to have the pre-injury timing, or is he still relearning his body? I think we're going to get answers to those questions within the first few games. I don't know how great Alabama is going to be as a barometer for that because, and I hope it doesn't go like this, but I do have a few concerns about the Miami Hurricanes offensive line heading into the season. If De'Aaron King is under constant pressure and just getting crushed by Alabama's defensive front, which is not impossible to consider, then we're not really going to have a good idea where he is timing-wise and athleticism-wise. So we may not really know that until you get into the meaty part of the ACC schedule. But I do like him getting love as one of the top 5 players returning, although I feel like Spencer Rattler at number 4, the Oklahoma quarterback, who's my pick to win the Heisman this year, he might be criminally underrated being that low on the list. He probably could have gone Rattler 1, Howell 2, or flip-flop those, but Spencer Rattler I thought should have been top 2, man, to say the freaking least on that. Elsewhere with the Canes, we've had a couple of the rankings come out already. The coaches poll came out last Friday. Miami was ranked number 16 by the coaches. The Associated Press poll came out on Monday. Miami was ranked 14th. So the aggregate right now is about 15th. If you go by the nerds, the PFF guys who just break down the numbers, they actually have Miami as the 9th team in the country this coming season. So cue the dialogue on that one. They write, the Hurricanes are poised to have one of the most explosive offenses in college football thanks to De'Aaron King. He's fresh off an elite graded season in his first year with Miami and is set to replicate that during 2021. On 111 runs, they say 85 designed, 26 scrambles. King totaled 26 rushes of 10 or more yards. He produced more than 10 yards after contact on 13 of those attempts, the most at his position. The 5'11", 202-pound quarterback also rarely put the ball in harm's way, ranking number 3 in the FBS in turnover-worthy play rate at 1.7%. If I'm going to look at Miami heading into the year, whether you think they're the 9th best team in the country, the 14th best, or the 16th best, I can agree in saying I think their offense is going to be really good. Alabama game notwithstanding. And we'll see how their offensive line holds up against the other tougher opponents, the North Carolinas of the world. But that offense, I think, is going to be putting up points freely. Because another thing you have to consider is heading into year 2 under Rhett Lashley, the way that goes with Lashley and his previous stops is there's a dynamic jump in the second year. Because the first year, they were having to reinvent everything they knew, these players. Now, maybe not so much for King, because King had run a similar system in his previous university. So it may be not as big of a learning curve for De'Aaron King, but for the rest of the offense, they were running an up-tempo spread for the first time. So you can expect an added comfort level in the second year. And typically, Rhett Lashley offenses, they can start off okay the first year. The second year is when they start clicking on all cylinders. And Miami's offensive personnel has gotten better heading into the second year. The running back core is more seasoned. They're one of the best in the country, in my opinion. The wide receiving core is deeper. I love the Charleston Rambo addition. It sounds like a couple of the younger guys, the freshmen, are really stepping up in fall camp. So you're going to have a lot of quality bodies in the receiving core. I think Will Mallory is going to do fine at tight end. We're not going to miss Brevin Jordan as much as you think we might miss him. Just my question, I've got a lot of questions about the defense, specifically the linebackers, right? You certainly have some quality depth at the defensive line. The defensive secondary can be really, really good, but how much are you missing at the linebacker position? That's the biggest area of worry I have with Miami, and why I think the defense, which was pretty brutal last year, I think they get a little bit better at least with Manny Diaz calling the plays defensively, because I do think Blake Baker was a problem they have gotten rid of. And Manny Diaz taking over play calling, I do think it's going to make things at least a little bit better defensively. They're going to be more aggressive, create more turnovers, create more tackles for a loss. But the linebacking core does worry me a little bit. I'm not going to lie to you. Well, it's been a fun show today. Huge thanks to Antoine Staley for joining us. Huge thanks to Johnathan Ramlakhan. And many, many thanks to our guy, Sean Stanley, working so hard behind the scenes. Sean, pop in so people can see that beautiful face of yours one more time before we wrap it up. And Manny Chang has been kind of around. Sean, can you confirm for me that Manny was actually taking a hike through the woods somewhere today? Because I know he had trouble getting in because he said his reception in the woods was bad.
Yeah, all he said was reception in the woods is bad. I told him to watch out for the bears. That's all I let him know.
I don't know if we have any bears in South Florida, unless he's like walking.
There's bears. There's bears.
Really?
Yeah.
Where? In the zoo?
Well, no, you tell me. You don't think there's any bears out in the Everglades?
I don't think there's one bear in the Everglades.
Not one bear.
No. Gators. I mean, you got to watch out for the gators. Snakes.
Come on, man. Come on. You don't know what's out. It's like the ocean. You don't know what's out there.
Yeah, fair enough. I've not completely charted it. So huge thanks to Sean Stanley and to Manny Chang today, and to everybody who popped in on the chat. I see our guy Ninja Viking has been in there. Ray, Joseph, Mike Monaco from the Bronx, Dominic, David, Martina. Thank everybody for popping in and chatting with us. We're going to be back tomorrow, same time, same place. I know our good friend Alana Tahauer is going to join us tomorrow, so we're going to be stacked again tomorrow. Oh, by the way, and everyone, if you're on social media today, wish Alana Tahauer from Clutch Corner a happy birthday. It is her birthday today. Shower her with birthday wishes and greetings and compliments, because that does make people feel good. Like I'm narcissistic. I look forward to my birthday all year long. And I try to do the thing where like I don't outright tell people it's my birthday, but maybe I'll like very casually drop a note, and then the messages start flooding in. It really is a beautiful feeling. So everyone make Alana Tahauer feel great today on her birthday. We're going to talk to her tomorrow. Thank you, David, for complimenting the fun time that we are all having. I hope you guys had fun. And I want to make sure you guys have the opportunity to have fun by placing some sports bets this football season at betus.com. I get asked this a lot because people see me tweeting about sports wagers, the highs, the lows, the good times that I have. People hear me talk about it. And like oftentimes, I think if you don't know where to go, it can be a little intimidating. Like you're a sports fan, you want to get some action, but you're not sure. Do I need to find a bookie? Do I need to like fly to Vegas? Like, how do I place wagers? Guys, it's so easy. Log on right now to betus.com, betus.com, and you're going to find the most comprehensive sports book on the internet. They are America's favorite sports book. In their third decade, they're entering their 27th year on the World Wide Web. I didn't even realize the internet's been around that long, but it has been, and BetUS has been around that long. They're entering their 27th season of NFL football coming up. And guys, they have odds on everything. Whether you want to bet NFL, you want to bet international soccer, you want to bet college lacrosse. I have literally done that and loved it at betus.com. The customer service at BetUS is great. You get assigned an individual agent to help you out with everything. My agent is Carla, and she is awesome. So log on to betus.com. And if you want to get a nice little bonus to start your run, and by the way, this works, by the way. I signed up with my promo code 2 weeks ago, and I received a 125% sign up bonus. Just type in the code 5RSN125 with sign up. 5RSN125, and they give you 125% bonus deposit. I deposited $150, and then magically I had an additional $187.50 put in my account. It is so great. I finally burned the bonus money, and I'm way in the profit thanks to that bonus money. So it really helped me out. It's so fun. BetUS.com. Get a little action on Inter Miami tonight against Chicago Fire. I'm actually betting on Inter Miami. I hope Manny Chang is listening. I think IMCF is going to get it done. And they burned me actually over the weekend. I bet on Inter Miami to cover a 1.5 spread against NYCFC. And I took an L there, but I think I take a W tonight against Chicago Fire at home. So I will be. Oh, and by the way, thank you so much for the donation from Big John Stud. I appreciate it, man. Oh, he asked me, did I hear Tevin Jenkins season-ending back surgery? Oh, no. Oh, man. Well, right there, I can tell you we got a story to talk about tomorrow. Wow. Anything on Dolphins practice, he says? Yeah, we're going to get into a lot of that tomorrow, Big John Stud, because we were wrapping it up for tonight, for today, I should say. BetUS.com. We'll get into more football tomorrow. Make sure you guys check out the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. The food is so freaking delicious there. The seafood is always fresh. 2-for-1 happy hour all day, every day. To find the location nearest to you and to peep the menu before you go, visit QuarterdeckRestaurants.com. The Quarterdeck, come for the food, stay for the fun. I've just received a message in the chat from Manny Chang. He survived the bears out in the woods. Can somebody answer this before we wrap it up? Are there any bears in the wild in the state of Florida? Oh, my God. The answer is right there. Ninja Viking. God bless you, sir. Ninja Viking says black bears are in the Everglades. You were right, Sean.
Yes.
Manny, are you okay?
He's alive. He's alive.
And you know what? I'm so stupid. I should have known that because I live literally like a mile and a half away from Zoo Miami, and we have annual passes there. We love bringing my kid out there, although it's funny because we always think, oh, let's take the 3-year-old to the zoo. He's going to have an awesome time. Like within 3 minutes, the kid is sweating. He's complaining. He does like the animals, though, but it never ends up being as good of a time as you think it's going to be. But I should have known that there are black bears in the Everglades because they have an Everglades exhibit in Zoo Miami. It's one of my favorite things. And Sean, the Everglades exhibit is my favorite thing at the zoo because it's right near the exit and the entrance. So it's like the first thing. You walk in.
Did you go on the little airboat ride thing?
I did. Yeah. I don't like how they charge you extra money for the airboat, though. It's like, I pay enough to get in here. Now I got to pay like $5 a head for the airboat. We've done the little airboat ride in there. But no, the Everglades, it's the best thing at the zoo because you enter, then you take a hard left, and it's right there. But I should have known because one of the animal exhibits they have there, they've got like a bear pit in the Everglades. How did I not know they have black bears in the Everglades?
Just so much on your mind, Donno. The bears slipped it.
It did. Well, listen, I'm going to sleep a little worse tonight knowing that if a bear wanders to Deerwood from the Everglades, I'm toast. So huge thanks to everyone who tuned in today. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Same time, same bat channel, 12 noon right here on 5R Live on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Ciao.